You're listening to Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum. I have a zit right here, Ryan.
Thanks for pointing it out.
Yeah. Bring the microphone towards you. Jeez. You're seeing behind the scenes now. Hey, I hope you guys had a great week. And I don't know, did you do anything fun this week? Maybe it's just Tuesday you're listening to this. Maybe the week has just begun. You're like, I'm tired. Just keep talking and talk about your guest. If you're here for Damien Leone and you're a horror fan like I am, big horror fan, if you like this podcast, all I ask is please subscribe, and that would really be appreciative. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Yeah, I think it's appreciated. It would be appreciated.
Yeah,
is the right term. But and if you want to join Patreon, if you want to support this little show, please go to Patreon. Patreon.com/inside. Is Inside of You? Patreon.com/inside.
Inside of You.
Patreon.com/inside
of you.
Patreon.com/inside of you. I don't know what show I'm on anymore.
You're right there.
No, but Patreon's a really great way to meet people, and with a lot of the common thoughts. People talk about mental health. A lot of friends have friendships have started through Patreon, which is really cool to see. And there's different tiers. There's the grand tier. There's the how deep is your love tier.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a top tier and a medium tier and a lower tier. But you can gifts from me. There's Zooms. There's this and that. But more importantly, you're helping the show. Picture it as a streamer. So give back if you like the show. Patreon.com/inside of you. Also, guys, if you want some cool merch like a signed pilot episode of Smallville, Lexmas script, a ship key, tumblers, Lex Luthor Funkos, lunchboxes signed by me and Tom. It's all on the Inside of You online store. And so grab some merch. Grab some sweet merch. There's also autographed pictures from me. So you know it's me. You're getting them from me. It's legit. And, Damien Leone is here. I've been trying to get him on a while. Director of all the Terrifiers. I'm going to call it the saga. The Terrifier saga. He just, this guy is so cool and so nice and so open. But what he did was pretty astonishing. To get something that gets so much attention, to make a movie, to write, edit, direct, come up with this character, and for it to become a franchise is such a rare thing in this world. And he did it. And it's brave, and boy, is he driven. And he just sent me a big package of all the Terrifier stuff, and I really thank him. And you're going to really enjoy this one. The talented and wonderful. Let's get inside of him. Damien Leone. It's my point of view. You're listening to Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum. Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum was not recorded in front of a live studio audience. I know you're looking around. It's like you love this stuff.
I do, man. I do. You have a lot of my favorite films.
What is your favorite films? What are your favorite films?
Too many, and I get in trouble all the time for saying my favorite. Because
Why?
I have so many, and instead of people like, you have to say one of your favorites.
If you had if you were in your house for a month and you only had one movie to watch.
It is easy. I know the answer to that, and I've come to the conclusion that finally, Jaws is my favorite film of all time. If I had to pick one, yeah.
Jaws is, come on.
It's a perfect film. And I've been watching it. So it also has the nostalgia connection to me because it was one of the first films I ever saw, watching it since I'm 3 years old.
Are you serious?
Beautiful.
So Jaws is honestly one of my favorites. I mean, I always, what's the scene you think of most when you think of Jaws?
Quint being eaten.
Oh
my gosh.
His mouth and the blood coming out.
It's unreal. His screams always got to me as a kid. And he could have made whatever that shark. I'll always defend the shark no matter what. I still think it looks incredible. It's just incredible. It's just an incredible design. It looks like this just amazing beast, right? But no matter what that looked like, his performance would have made that scene work. It's so real, so believable. You believe the terror and the horror of what's happening.
December 11th, 1943. Jeez.
It's so good.
1,100 men in the water that day. What do you say? When a shark bites you, his eyes roll over.
Oh, and then
Sharks got black eyes,
like a
lifeless
doll's eyes.
like a doll's eyes.
That terrible high pitched screaming. The ocean turns red. I'll never.
Were
put on
you
a
doing
life
this
jacket again.
since you were a kid?
Since
were
I'm
you
a
quoting
kid.
movies?
Yep, I was that kid. Preschool, when the kids were playing Ghostbusters, I was Jason. I remember scaring the shit out of some kid. This was preschool. I don't know how old you are in preschool. 5 years old.
What are you, 30s?
I'm 41. Just turned
Are you?
41. Yeah.
I still got you by 11 years.
Yeah. You look great.
Yeah. Well,
Not that,
with the mustache, Wow. So, because I always think like horror movie directors, guys that like gore and like the blood and like you probably hate, do you like the real stuff? Like
I do. Hate it.
Hate it.
Yeah.
See, that's
people think
usually
I'm
is.
lying when I say
No,
that.
I
can't.
love crime stuff. I
Yeah.
love crime dramas and all that stuff, but I don't like seeing real death.
Mm-mm.
So what is it? Why do we like the gore and as long as it's not real? What is that?
I think that's the sort of the gateway, because violence is so profound. It's everywhere. It could hit you at any moment. We're so vulnerable, and I don't think we realize on a daily basis just how vulnerable we are.
Right.
And for me anyway, and that's the way I always kind of dealt with it. It's kind of tackling your fears, your greatest primal fears.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always felt that sort of there was a power when I was a kid, because like I said, watching these movies at a very young age, 4 or 5 years old, and I'd see adults getting really scared and freaked out, and they can't. I'm like, but I could watch it. And it gave me sort of like a power. I'm like, why am I able to conquer this when they can't?
Right.
And I always explored that as a kid. And I started getting more into every aspect of it, especially creatures and monsters, like why I gravitated toward fantastic creatures.
Right.
And then it just got to a point where watching the movies wasn't enough. Now I had to be the one making them. I had to be the one scaring people now.
But the thing is, I think you say 4 or 5 years old. What parent is allowing their kids to watch? Because my mother at 8 years old used to say, "Oh, I rented these horror movies. Everyone's too scared to watch them. You're going to watch them with me." And it was like Motel Hell and Make Them Die Slowly as an 8-year-old. I'm like,
all right, Make Them Die Slowly was one of the ones I watched. That was actually one of the ones that my mother had a problem with me watching.
Because it seemed too
that
real
was
and raw.
Yeah.
That was savage.
That's next level.
So what was it like? Did you have a good upbringing?
Very.
Really?
Very
Staten
good.
Island?
Staten Island, a lot of friends, like very typical. A lot of sports, playing in the street, a lot of friends. But I guess, I don't know. My mother named me after The Omen.
Look, I swear to God, that's one of my questions.
Yeah.
I go, did your mother name you after The Omen? Damien.
Yeah.
Damien.
It was.
Why would she do that?
So, well, she tells me, I mean, she's been telling me my whole life, right? But when she saw, first of all, she loves movies, all movies, especially action and horror movies. And she saw The Omen in the movie theaters. And she said, if I ever have a boy, I'm naming him that. I just love that name. And it was especially from the scene where the nanny hangs herself and she goes, "It's all for you, Damien."
It's all for you, Damien.
That's when the name just clicked with her. It was that scene in particular. And
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of like when I'm sure when she told her friends, they're like, okay.
My grandmother refused to call me Damien. She was very religious and she thought it was the name of the devil and she refused to call me it.
What'd she call you?
She would call me Boy.
Boy.
Got to the point where she'd call me Boy. So this is such a funny story. My mother tells it like every holiday. So yeah, I mean, that was a thing. And priest had to be like, no, my grandmother's name was Angie. It got to the point where she like got the local priest and was like, "Can you believe what my what my granddaughter named this child? It's the devil." And he's like, "No, Angie." He goes, "There's a priest, Father Damien of the lepers, and there is a Father Damien." So he like
and The Exorcist, Father Damien.
Oh, yeah, Karras, right?
Correct,
I
yes.
know, incredible.
You know, that's my friend.
I'm buddies with Jason now.
Yeah, I know. He did your movie, which we'll talk about.
Yeah, incredible.
I mean,
we pretty much bonded over Jaws, Wizard of Oz, Godfather, and Exorcist when I first met him. That's all we did.
I mean, I bet you had tons of questions about his dad, who was with the priest in Exorcist, Jason Patrick's
I did,
dad.
yeah. And he's, he loves talking about his father. And he's obsessed with his performance in that.
He kind of looks like his dad a little bit.
He does, yeah.
There's
Yeah, Jason's the coolest dude ever.
He is. And he was great in the movie. He was
amazing.
really sweet and subtle, and it gave that kind of calm before the storm.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I think that's what you're probably looking for.
It
right?
was. And the
like
last
a place
thing
that she could think of that she can go back to that kind of calms her.
Yeah, and it's been building too over the course of the franchise about the father, and you hear all these awful things.
We're talking about Terrifier 3.
Terrifier 3, yeah. So you hear all these awful things about the father, that he was actually abusive, and he's kind of like, and then when you go back and you see him finally, you're like, but why? He's such a loving, calm father. He's like the father everybody would want. And then, so you'll see. I mean, you'll see as we go forward. I mean, I'm gonna wrap everything up in the next installment.
Wait, so Terrifier 4 will be the last one?
Yeah,
and you're sure of that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No matter what, because they gave
I would never say no matter what. So
no matter what, it might come down, but you want to move on to other things.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll get into that.
Yeah.
But so as a young boy, are you getting good grades? Are you popular at school? Are you excelling?
I wouldn't say popular in school. I would get good grades, but I was the kind of kid who would just study for the test, do well, and then all of that information was out of my head. Yeah. So unless I was really interested in the topic,
me too.
Yeah, I had
ADD. I still do, but so
I daydreamed all day.
If I'm interested in something, if someone's got my attention, I feel like I'm brilliant. But if I'm not invested or I'm not in it, I'm an idiot.
Yeah,
I'm ignoring everything. I'm going to bomb the test. I remember this teacher. Mrs. Muller, she was a substitute teacher, came in our literature class, and I was not doing well. And she says, we're going to talk about Romeo and Juliet. And I go, oh, shit. And she made Romeo and Juliet so cool and so beautiful. Yep. There's these Capulets and there's Montagues, and they're fighting these families. And she made it just so exciting. Yep. And I think that's what storytelling is, movie making. It's like, how do we make this story exciting? How do we get people to be invested?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Of course I do. And I agree with you 1,000%. And one of my only takeaways from high school was Shakespeare. I was so fascinated by. Didn't read that one in high school, but it was
Macbeth.
It was Macbeth, which is my favorite. Othello, Romeo and Juliet. I read some other ones, but those were the top that I absolutely loved, and I was so interested in them.
Two Gentlemen of Verona. Oh, yes, that one.
If you could ever play a Shakespearean character, if you haven't yet, but who would be your ultimate?
I played this character Ross. He was sort of the messenger, gave them the bad news all the time. Just called the evil, the most miraculous work of this good king.
And which play?
Macbeth.
In Macbeth. Okay.
But if I had to choose a character, I mean, obviously Macbeth is a great character.
He's incredible.
I think that would be the one. I think
He's incredible.
I mean, people say Hamlet all the time, and that's the toughest to tackle. But to just have Macbeth's all in his head, it's just like it's going. I don't know.
He's a badass too.
He's a badass. Really he fights. He's a warrior and.
Do you know, I've never heard this brought up anywhere, but my favorite iteration of Macbeth film-wise is the Polanski one. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Oh, yeah, we had to watch that.
Oh, my God, it's incredible. And then I remember the same time I saw that.
You know why I remember that? Because we're forced to watch it, and Dr. Combs was our director. And we're in this room, and he's making everyone watch it. And this guy, John Jordan, is kind of fucking around in the room. He's like not paying attention. He's like making it. And I just saw Combs because he was sitting next to me, Dr. Combs staring at him. And he was very reserved, very quiet teacher. And finally, John Jordan just got on his nerves and to himself. And only I heard this. He said, "Oh, fuck you, John Jordan." And I fucking told everybody. And he goes, "What is this you're telling everyone?" I go, "Well, I told him the situation." He goes, "You said fuck you." He goes, "Well, he was a fucking asshole in there. Did you see how he was acting?" But anyway, so I remember
that was the takeaway from Polanski's.
From Macbeth, yeah.
Oh my God.
What were you saying?
I remember Scarface is one of my favorite movies of all time, and I remember watching it one day and it clicked. I'm like, this has so many correlations to Macbeth, where he's overthrows basically the general, becomes the king,
doesn't trust anybody,
kills his best friend.
Yep.
And then his kingdom essentially at the end is overthrown, and they come in and he's the last man standing who has to take on the whole army. But I've never heard anybody talk about that. But there's the correlation that's so blatant.
Inside of You is brought to you by Shopify. Hold on, folks. Listen, if you want to start a small business or you already have a business or a big business, all businesses need Shopify. Let me explain. My podcasts, both of them, I didn't have a store. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to create a store. With Shopify, all the tools are right there. And believe me, if I can do it, anyone can do it. It's all there right in front of you. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world, and 10% of all e-commerce in the US, from household names like Mattel and Gymshark to brands just getting started. You know, on the page for my store on Shopify, I just take a picture of the product. I upload it. It's all right there on the page. I put the price, how much it weighs, the quantity. With Shopify, the shipping is so easy. It pretty much does it for you. You can keep track of your analytics of how well you're doing. Oh, this product isn't selling that much, or this product's doing really well. And that really saves you time and money because you don't want to keep getting products that aren't really selling. But it keeps track of all your inventory. You just plug it in and it's there and you know how many you have and it will tell you. Shopify is really for everybody who wants any kind of business. Turn your big business idea into cha-ching with Shopify on your side.
Get started with your own design studio with hundreds of ready-to-use templates. Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store to match your brand's style.
Accelerate your content creation. Shopify is packed with helpful AI tools that write product descriptions, page headlines, and even enhance your product photography.
Get the word out like you have a marketing team behind you. Easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling.
And best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond. If you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify.
Sign up for your 1 month, $1 per month trial period and start selling today at shopify.com/inside.
Go to shopify.com/inside. Shopify.com/inside. Who's your favorite actor ever?
Oh, man. Again, here we go, right? I have so many.
Do you know who I really love?
Jack Nicholson's up there.
Nicholson, of course.
He's up there.
I love Gene Hackman.
Love him. Love him.
Is one of the most intense. When he gets angry in a movie, it scares me.
Oh, yeah.
Because he is, that, I remember, what movie was it with Meryl Streep? But he says to her, she's an actress and she's a little drunk or on drugs on the set. And he goes, "You get your shit together and you come back tomorrow or I'm going to fire you. God damn it." And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah,
like he
you
just
believe it.
I just believed everything.
Yeah.
That's the thing. When people can tap into the anger and you believe it, there's nothing like that. If someone, because I could tap into it. That's one of my strengths is I could tap into. And I think I get it because my dad, he had a bit of a temper. Like when he yelled, it scared
Oh,
the
so that's who you kind of channel? Interesting.
out of
That's
me.
cool. Well,
The
cool,
way
you know what
he
I mean.
would say things
Yeah.
and how direct he was, it was terrifying. But who's your favorite? But up there, Nicholson.
De Niro, Pacino. You got to say Daniel Day-Lewis is just as good as they get.
Meryl Streep, for sure.
God, she's unbelievable. I mean, that scene in Sophie's Choice is just the most insane thing I've ever seen in my life.
And you know who's one of the best actresses? What's his name? From Batman.
Christian Bale?
Yes.
Oh my God.
That guy is.
I mean, I fell in love with him.
What an actor, man.
What an actor. I fell in love with him when American Psycho first came out.
Do you know it's one movie I haven't seen?
What?
Can you believe it? I'm a horror fan. I have never seen it.
That's all right. I could spend hours telling you. Especially in the past 15 years, I'm so far behind in modern horror. But yeah, American Psycho is as good as its reputation. It deserves its cult status.
I got to watch it.
It's a masterpiece. Yeah.
Really?
And every time I watch it, it's better. Yeah.
I mean, to me, there's nothing scarier than Nicholson on the staircase when she's with.
I just watched it 2 days ago.
I watched that movie.
Time.
I think it's got to be my favorite movie of all time because I watch it so much.
Mm-hmm.
But my right up there for favorite horror of all time is Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
You're speaking my language, my friend.
Talk about the most raw, holy shit, this could happen.
Yes,
kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. I was talking about that during the Super Bowl. We monopolized. I went to watch it with my my producer, my lawyer who lives out here, and a couple of his buddies, and we talked horror movies the entire Super Bowl. And we brought up Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I was just talking about how perfect that movie is, and how it's just because it kind of transcends film, where you totally forget you're watching a movie when you're watching that. At some point, you're in the movie. You don't believe they're actors. Everything is so gritty. You see the sweat. You can feel the heat.
Yeah.
And that it taps into a hysteria in that movie by the end, where you just believe everybody's a maniac. This woman's losing her mind. And that was one of the... Again, growing up watching all these movies and watching it from more of a fascinating standpoint, right? Knowing it's fake, but the appeal of the monster and everything. I remember one day watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it was while he's chasing her. That whole, maybe, what is it? It feels like it's 10 minutes long.
Yeah.
It might be, where he's just relentlessly chasing her, and all you hear is that chainsaw and her screaming for like 10 minutes.
It doesn't stop.
It doesn't stop. And I remember forgetting I'm watching a movie, and I imagined what if that was my sister that was running, and it really freaked me out for a second. And that was the power of that movie. There's nothing like it. I watch it like once a year, probably.
Yeah, it just feels like one of those movies where they made a wrong stop and everything just fell apart.
Yeah,
like if you just meet the wrong people,
wrong place, wrong time. That's it. Yeah,
and it could happen. I noticed that I didn't do my research beforehand. But like, you not only direct and write and produce, but you do all the special effects and makeup.
I do. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's
up until the third movie. Third movie, I didn't. First time I didn't do it.
I mean, these scenes sometimes that I'm watching, sometimes I think this had to take a day or two.
You're right. Sometimes it take more.
I'm going to guess what took the longest to shoot. I'm going to guess it.
Go for it.
Terrifier 2 in the bedroom scene.
You are correct.
That probably took 4 days.
Yeah, I'd say, I think we started filming it when we weren't prepared with the effects. And I remember shooting the scene, and it was intended to be the big scene in the movie, the big kill set piece.
Man.
Because the first movie was, whatever you want to call it, notorious for that hacksaw scene.
Yeah.
So I knew now going in, we have to kind of try and rival that or do something as cool. So there were so many issues making part 2. I tried to get a makeup crew to help me, but they bailed out, and then we were all kind of prepped to start shooting. So we kind of just had to jump in and figure it out as we were going. So when we got to that scene, we just weren't ready for it. And I remember being so disappointed as it's happening. None of the effects are working, and I'm just by the monitor, and I pulled my producer over, a couple of other people. I'm like,
freaking out?
Not freaking out, but just saying, we're going to have to come back and get inserts and figure this out, because this is not up to snuff.
That scene blew me away, though.
Oh, thank you, man.
Blew me away. It just was relentless. It didn't stop, and it was like, you went everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, I guarantee guys like Tom Savini watched that and probably called you up.
Well, I got close to Savini now, and Savini's my makeup.
And he's in 3.
He's in 3. He's my makeup hero. Every time I'm asked, how did you get into makeup effects?
Love him.
The only real, definitive answer is I discovered his VHS tape called Scream Greats when I was a kid. And it was just 45 minutes of his movies and his work. And I fell in love with monster making at that point. So every time I'm making a movie, I'm paying homage in some way to him or his work.
Well, yeah. When you're writing, do you sort of think, right, I just want to get to the horror, I just want to get to the scenes? I mean, at first, like, I just want to get to the bread and butter.
Not necessarily, because I also don't write in like a linear way. So I'll just if I feel like writing the ending, I'll write the end, or if I have, if I have a note, in notes or whatever, now I use on my phone, I'll have all the breakdown, all the beats. I want this scene. I want this interaction with Arthur Clown and somebody, this kind of kill scene. And it might not have anything to do with the movie yet, but I know I have to weave it into the story somehow if I'm in love with that set piece. So there's no strict rule or formula as to how I write the script, but I bounce all over the place.
Do producers say, hey, let's cut down the movie, or let's cut down this scene? I think we got it. Come on. Like, I think let's move on. We got it. And you're no, we don't have it. In fact, we got another day of this.
All the time. That's my partner, Phil, who's my favorite person on the planet.
But he's seen you like,
well, it's his job to keep me on a leash to some degree, because I will ask for 10 days to shoot something when we only have the money to shoot it for 3. So at some point he has to be like, you can't. We have to stop now. But he'll give me as much as he possibly can.
Has he ever said you're killing me
every day?
You're screwing me.
Oh, every day.
You're screwing the day. The actor's waiting in there for this next scene. We're not going to get to it.
Terrifier 3, we were on the phone arguing all day long. It was yelling. It was not a fun experience making part 3, just because of so many other factors, external.
Well, there's
factors.
a lot of pressure on you.
So much more pressure, so much more money.
What did they give you for that?
I think at the end of the day, it was somewhere around $3 million we had to, which was a ton of money.
For me.
For me.
Because the first one,
the most we ever had was up until that point was part 2, which was around $300,000.
$300,000.
Yeah. First one was $35,000 to $55,000. We shot the movie, put the movie, he's saying the can, even though it was all digital, but we shot it for about $35,000 and then put in an extra maybe 15.
Did you finance Terrifier 2? Or did you have some investors?
Mostly Phil, my producer, and then we crowdfunded. And if we didn't crowdfund it, we would have never been able to shoot that movie because we were basically assuming we could shoot it the way we shot the first movie. But I wrote this really big, epic, sequel to it where it was just such a jump we didn't realize. And the only reason I tried to crowdfund because of the clown cafe scene. I said, we have this huge scene in the middle of the movie that I know there's no way we can shoot that without additional funds. So I tried to raise 50 grand specifically for that scene. And within a day we raised 250, I think, or something like that. The fans just came in like guns blazing. I didn't realize what we had at that point. I didn't realize how big the fan base was.
How did Terrifier 2 get into theaters? Because I remember going to see Terrifier 2 in theaters and it's packed and people are going, oh my God. Like, how did that movie get into theaters?
Yeah, I think it was sort of stars aligning, lightning in a bottle. It was sort of around right after COVID, if I remember correctly. It was certainly during COVID.
Yeah.
So that's when theaters were dying. They thought, no movies were being made, no movies were going into the theaters. So they were getting desperate to actually have content. And I think that's one of the main reasons they took it where they typically wouldn't. And they put it in a fair amount of screens. It was the company Iconic, and they're just sort of an independent company.
And it made $15 million.
It made $15 million. I don't know if it's 15 worldwide or...
But off a $250,000 budget.
It's certainly 15. Yeah.
That's like up there with, not as extreme as like Blair Witch and these paranormal activities, but like... To make a $250,000 movie and make $15 million.
It's unreal. We're still pinching ourselves. And to give us a little more credit, at least all those movies that blew up, the classic and independent ones, typically almost all of them, like Blair Witch and Paranormal Activity, they get picked up by a major studio. And then the studio puts a ton of like maybe $20 million or more into marketing to push it. Like it's a big Hollywood movie. But we've never had that. The first movie we had $0 for marketing. And then the third movie we had a $500,000 marketing budget. So that's just a testament to our fan base and just word of mouth. It's an organic movie.
If Terrifier 2 wasn't as big a success as it was in Terrifier 3, Terrifier 1, Hallows Eve.
Yeah, Hallows Eve.
Would you still be doing this because you love it so much no matter what? If you're broke as shit, would you still be doing it?
1,000%. My favorite thing to do now, because I do a lot of the horror conventions with David.
Yeah.
And, all these, especially young kids, not only young, I mean, everybody who comes up, there's so many aspiring filmmakers and they say, I've inspired them and how'd you do it? And I've made them want to make movies. And, my favorite thing to tell them is like, dude, I was writing the script to Terrifier 2 in a flower van. I was delivering flowers. That was my primary job for 10 years because it was because I knew I didn't want to dive into a career that would lock me up or keep me away from filmmaking. So I knew I had to keep, I had bills and everything and I had to pay rent. So I knew I needed a 9-to-5 job that I could break away from anytime I would get a freelance gig doing makeup effects on a movie or if I was going to go make my own movie, but I would always go back to the flower van. So I literally wrote the entire movie of Terrifier 2 when I was delivering flowers. Almost all the ideas came to me while I was driving that van.
That is crazy.
Pretty wild, right? So yeah.
I mean, you pinch yourself. You got to, are you able to sort of be on the outside looking in and say, hey man, look what you've accomplished, man. This is enough. This is good. Like, I know you push yourself, but do you ever say, hey man, you've done a good job. You're a success. This is good. You're proud of yourself.
I am. Yeah, I'm able to do that for sure.
Good.
Yeah, it feels really good. And yeah, I just want to keep. But like it's like you said, I would never, even if I wasn't making a living doing it, I would never be able to stop. These would be, $10,000 movies if I had to max out credit cards and make them. I would do whatever I could to just. It's in your blood. And I tell people all the time, aspiring filmmakers, I said, if there's any doubt in your soul as to whether or not this is for you, it's probably not for you. Like I've never
You're
had
100% in. Always.
I've never had a choice. It's not about making it. It's not about being a successful filmmaker. It's just something you have to do. It's like breathing. You have to create. I have to get the images out of my head. I have to get my imagination in front of my face.
I have a friend, Dave Buchert, and he lives in the Midwest, and we've been friends forever. I was a big horror movie fan. Then I walked into his room, and it was like this. He had all these horror posters, and we just watched horror together. We became really close friends, and he's that guy. He's like just making no money, working at like a racetrack or something, or working at a what's the Dolly Parton, the famous place in Nashville, the Grand Ole Opry. He's, filming at the Grand Ole Opry, but he's just trying to make horror movies. He makes these little horror movies, and like it's in his blood. It's like that's all he wants to do.
Yeah,
and it's a beautiful thing, and I envy that. I think that's to have a passion for something and love something so much, no matter how low the budget or whatever.
Well, don't you have the same thing?
No. I do, but
has it shifted?
I think it's shifted a little bit because I sort of got tired of, I think because I was doing well and people thought I was good, that I was doing it more for people and agents and, because making them happy, but also taking my craft very seriously when I was working. But I think I worked so hard that it's almost debilitating. It's mentally like, I just want to be great. I want to give the director everything. I want to go above and beyond.
Yeah.
And that's, instead of laying back a little more. But now I feel like I'm making my own decisions on what I want to do. So I don't have to work. Unless something comes along every once in a while that I'm like really
about it.
If you said, hey, there's a cameo for like, a scene in one of your flicks, I would consider that.
Very cool.
I would crush it for you. But I think I have a passion for a lot of things. I come up with an idea. I'm like, I'm gonna write a kid's book. I'm gonna come out with a pet product. I'm gonna write a series about a serial killer. I'm gonna do that. And I don't. I used to be like, it has to sell. It has to. That means I'm good. That means, and now it's just like the process I'm really enjoying. I'm just enjoying the process of it all.
Beautiful. That's
like
a beautiful level. Yeah.
Just
of enlightenment.
Writing a great pitch, writing a great script that I'm proud of.
Yeah.
And if it gets made, awesome. If it doesn't, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just letting my imagination run wild.
Absolutely. It's beautiful. And this idea that you can really only do one thing.
Yeah.
Right. If you're an actor, all you can do is act.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Yeah. If you're a director, you can't do makeup effects. It's like I like the idea. That's another one of the things I loved about Savini growing up was he was I have no desire
directed
to act,
Night of the Living Dead 90 version,
which is incredible.
I love that.
It's
movie.
incredible. It's finally getting its
dude, it's so good. It got overlooked
big time. And it's coming out. They're coming out with an extended cut or because they made him shoot for every gore gag. They made him shoot a censored version and a good version, and they cut out all the gore. So they dug up the negative, and they're putting high 4K. They're putting in all the.
I'm buying it.
I can't wait.
It's
like one of my
Let's
most
screen
anticipated.
It here and watch it.
Oh, 100%.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Traditional in-person therapy, Ryan, can cost anywhere from $100 to $250 per session. But with BetterHelp Online Therapy, you can save on average up to 50% per session. Seriously, it's the best investment you can make. With BetterHelp, you pay a flat fee for weekly sessions, saving you big on cost and on time.
Therapy should feel accessible, not like a luxury. With online therapy, you get quality care at a price that makes sense and can help you with anything from anxiety to everyday stress.
Your mental health is worth it, and now it's within reach. Therapy from BetterHelp is helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 5 million people globally. It's convenient too.
You can join a session with the click of a button, helping you fit therapy into your busy life. Plus, switch therapists at any time.
Your well-being is worth it. Visit betterhelp.com/inside to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/inside.
100%.
You ever get anxiety?
All the time.
I mean, like real anxiety, like
real anxiety,
debilitating anxiety.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like, give me an example.
Panic attacks when you just think you're dying.
Yeah,
yeah.
What do you do?
You just got to write it out.
You write it out. You don't take any meds. You don't go see a doctor. You don't talk to a therapist.
No,
never talk to a therapist.
I try.
You too good for a therapist?
Definitely not.
But I bet it would help you.
It might.
It's helped me kind of figure things out, like why I'm thinking this way and feeling this way, and what's pushing it, what's causing it.
Interesting. Yeah,
absolutely.
Maybe. I mean, I don't get them so much anymore. If I feel them coming on, if I feel a panic attack coming on, I can kind of avoid it.
So when it happens on set sometimes?
It's not typically on set, believe it or not. It's really when I'm just alone, lost in my head, lost in my thoughts. That's when it starts coming on.
You?
Yeah. It's when you're, what do they say, like idle hands or whatever. It's like I have to be working. My mind has to be occupied. And I think
idle hands is the devil's workshop.
Yeah. I think that's when you see actors who constantly work. Constantly. They'll make like 2 movies a year.
I don't understand it.
I think that's why. I think if they stop, especially when they're really famous, I think if they stop, they'll fall apart. I think, and they know that. They have to keep moving like a shark.
Yeah, so it's probably unhealthy. Think about it. They're ignoring
that's very true.
All this stuff.
The root cause of whatever it is, perhaps. Yeah.
So
it started for me. I was a heavy pot smoker at one period in my life. And that was and that was the time. When was it? It was kind of like 2004 to 2008, maybe. And that's when you're getting older and you got to find your place in life. And it's like, what are you going to be? Who are you going to be? And of course I wanted to be a filmmaker, but you're not, it wasn't making a living doing it. And then you're just like smoking so much and your perception of reality.
You're more of a dreamer.
Yeah. And I overanalyze everything anyway. I mean, that's all I do with everything. I mean, as a filmmaker, as an artist, right? You could kind of like, you can dig deep into stuff, right? It's how I watch movies. I used to love smoking to watch movies because then movies would take on a whole new meaning and I could just pull so much more out of them. But then that's where they kind of sparked. That was like the first panic attack came from paranoia of smoking. And then once you open that door, it's open. That's the thing. Once the doctor told me, I think you're having a panic attack. Yeah. The fact that he said that triggered more. I wish he'd say it's nothing. And it's going to go away. Right. And that's just tell me that. Popular. I mean, everybody knows that it's the fear, the anticipation of one coming on could set it off. And something like you feel like something's wrong with me, and this is why am I weak? It's so not true. No. It's more about what's causing it. Cause many things. Not sleeping. Poor diet, lack of exercise, dwelling on the past, dwelling on the future. Well, all these things create this whirlwind of emotion and thoughts. Well, this is a crazy place, man. This is a crazy reality. Just life. It's a crazy. Well, yeah, that too. This is a crazy existence. We kind of mask it with everything, but ultimately, we have no idea how we got here, why we're here, and we just try and mask it and go on with life. And when you just stop and think about that, I mean, that's enough to overwhelm you, like you can't imagine. What's the lowest you've ever been depression wise? You ever get pretty low? Where like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to succeed. Nobody wants to see my movies. How am I going to get this movie made? Yeah, I don't think to a point where I was sort of crippled or bedridden where I couldn't, but there's certainly been days where it's lasted and it's the worst feeling in the world. I've certainly gotten that. You just talk to someone or? No, I just wait till eventually it just you just wait. Yeah, I just wait. It's like Keanu Reeves was sitting where you were sitting and I asked him and I just remember Ryan, he goes, well, I just like to
be by myself,
Yeah.
just quiet, close my eyes, and I just think about it until I don't think about it anymore.
That's it. Everything passes eventually.
This too shall pass.
Yes, too shall pass, man.
Yeah.
And I always say, I'm 41. I've been through all this shit before many, 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 many times. I've been a nervous kid going to school like my whole life, I used to be so nauseous going to school. I hated going to school.
Yeah.
And you get through it. Like I've been through the worst things.
So that's
I was going to say the worst things. I have not been through the worst things imaginable, even close, but I've been through all that. I've been through harsh anxiety and just terrible
So that's your
things
advice is you get through it.
you'll get through it.
It's life.
Yeah. The sun's going to rise. Yeah.
It's going to happen. There's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Absolutely.
You're going to go through a lot of darkness to get to that light.
Yeah.
But it's going to happen. That's a way to do it.
Or, take an active approach too. I mean, find something that's going to get you out of that. So what's going to keep you from falling into that dark place, right? When I create and my mind's occupied, I'm not going to go into that dark place.
I go pretty dark. Like even in bed, waking up this morning, I had some dark thoughts.
Because you knew I was coming.
Yeah, that's exactly. Damien, it's all for you.
The fucking Antichrist is coming.
No,
here.
but I remember just thinking like, I've always thought like I had this death wish, like I wasn't going to make it to a certain point. I didn't think I'd make it through high school. I didn't think I'd make it through this. And now I'm still here.
Yeah.
So there's, so
nowhere.
those thoughts aren't real. But, I get some dark thoughts that I just go, okay, let's take a shower.
Yeah.
Let's stop thinking about this.
And
let's move on.
Keep thinking about the fact that you are so not alone. You're not even close to being in the minority.
That's true.
The vast majority.
Hey, man.
Yeah.
You're not alone is key.
Yeah, man.
How did the inception of Art, the clown, become a reality?
Yeah, I wish it was a cooler story. Right?
Okay.
Like I had this amazing dream and he came to me. I know I should create one. It really was when I was going to make my first short film. I said, why is anybody going to watch this? Why is it going to stick out to anybody and that's always sort of my mindset with everything that I make, even now. And it was just, okay, I'm a makeup effects artist, right? So I'm going to try and pack this thing out in 10 minutes with creatures and some makeup effects gags and sort of generic characters that I enjoy or creep me out, but now I feel like maybe I could put my own little spin on them or something. And clowns always creeped me out. I didn't have a particular fascination with killer clowns, like they were my favorite trope. But
Pennywise.
But I love Pennywise. There were some other movies that I loved with clowns. But
Killer Clowns
from Outer Space, but they didn't scare me.
Right.
There was a movie called Clown House. You ever see that?
A long time
from the
80s.
late 80s, very late 80s. Maybe.
Yeah.
And there's some creepy silent clowns in that, and they were very creepy. But I knew that I could put like a spin on the clown and make a cool version of one at least. And then it just comes down to what's the process now of creating it. All right, you're gonna go in the killer clown route. Now, what does he look like, and why is yours going to stand out more than the 50 other?
How long did it take you to create?
Very quick. I think I sketched them almost instantly.
So you're an artist too.
Yeah.
Like you draw.
Mm-hmm.
So you sketch that look.
That's why his name is Art too, and I hate telling that story.
Because you're just
it was a piece of art. I didn't have a name for him, and that's literally why I was like, I need a placeholder, and I just knew I didn't want to call him Bozo or something silly like that. And then I just said, all right, for now he's Art the Clown, and then I just kept referring to him as that. And it
was there ever other names that you thought of?
Never a second name. It just so many things like that. They just click. You feel like they happen for a reason.
When did you? How did you meet David Thornton? David
Thornton. Just a open call audition in
How
Manhattan.
many people did you meet?
He was the sixth person I would say to come into the
and
room,
you knew?
and I knew instantly.
What did he do that was different?
I would have. There's a good chance I would have cast him just on his physicality alone when he walked in the room. As soon as I saw him, I said, he's just going to look great. I was just looking for a tall, skinny person with a big smile, like a big grin. And as soon as he walked in, I'm like, well, there's my guy. Because the first Art the Clown, David's not the first Art the Clown.
Right.
First couple of short films that were then thrown into an anthology was my buddy Mike Gianelli. And he just hung out with me when I was getting.
He wasn't an actor.
Not an actor at all.
He just did you a favor.
Did me a favor. Hung out with me, and when I was getting into makeup effects, especially, I was started to get into life casting and prosthetics. So I molded his face and I would make zombie prosthetics for him and everything. And then when I knew I was going to have this killer clown that I wanted to sculpt a prosthetic for, I didn't feel like finding an actor or getting another life mask. So I said, hey, you want to play this clown? I'm like, you don't have to act. All you got to do is just sit there, smile, and like just do some beats. But you could do it. Trust me. I was like, the makeup will take over. But he was really good.
Yeah,
he did a really
great.
good job. He's very creepy, played it very different than
But
David.
you wanted to up the ante. You wanted to make it larger than life.
Oh, yes.
Obviously.
Well, I didn't want to replace Mike, but when we were going to make Terrifier and I reached out to him, he basically said, I don't think it's in me anymore. I can't go through hours and hours for months or whatever in the makeup chair.
Really?
Yeah.
Does he regret it?
I think he's all right. He's very happy. He's got a family now. And
like,
I mean, it was just never his thing. So, but I'd like to get him in the movie somehow, at least get him a cameo.
Did David know, was he even slightly aware of how much he would be tortured in this movie? Like how much work it actually was?
Nobody knows. Nobody knows what these movies
I mean, when
really
he's doing
entail.
this movie, when you cast him, I mean, the guy is the nicest guy in the world. You'd never think he'd be playing Art the Clown.
No.
He's so sweet. He's like, hey, yeah,
he's
everything's, you know.
I call him, he's Roger Rabbit. You meet him in real life. He's Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
He really is. He's a walking cartoon character. He couldn't be any different than Art the Clown. It's pretty amazing. But now that was scary though, when I had to replace Mike, because Mike worked great. For all the flaws in my films, he was working perfectly. Like that character just works. So I was like, fuck, this could ruin everything. Potentially, I don't know what's going to happen when I recast this role. So I said, but now going into starting from scratch, and now that I could actually cast an actor and I could look for a specific physicality, I want this character to be, I always wanted him to be thinner, because the way I sculpted the mask was a very gaunt zombie look.
Right.
So I wanted someone thinner, taller, and hopefully with some just, more acting experience. And then when David came in the room and I just saw him physically, I said, he's going to look great in that prosthetic. I knew that right away. And then he didn't even have sides or anything. I think he knew he was just coming in for a killer clown. He goes, oh, well, what do I do? I don't have any sides. I said, I don't have any dialogue. I said, well, you don't speak. I said, I just need you to decapitate somebody. Act as if you're decapitating somebody and do it very gleefully, like you're having a great time. And that's all I told him to do.
That's it.
And you could see his audition, and he just flipped the switch, and he'd been playing the Grinch for years, and he loves Jim Carrey. I mean, he was just doing all this wonderful theatrical
just the
stuff.
stuff in Terrifier 2, and he's in the gift shop with the goofing
the
around.
Glass,
Was that a lot of him improvising?
Oh, well, the way a scene like that works, he does improvise a lot. But like that scene in particular, it was in the script that there's all these wacky, it's kind of my homage to that scene in Pee-wee's Big Adventure when he goes into the magic shop.
Yeah.
So it was like he goes into the shop every time Sienna turns around, Art's at the wacky sunglasses rack, and every time she turns around, he's got a different pair of sunglasses on. So it's in the script, but it's vague. So then I just ordered a whole box of glasses from China. We just threw them on the rack, and then I go, all right, Dave, go crazy. And he'll take the glasses one at a time, and whatever the glasses sort of dictate to him, he'll just start riffing on that.
It's just unbelievable. And he does this without talking.
Yep.
Which is unbelievable. He does it all with physicality. And, he's the nicest guy in the world. Has he ever lost it with you before?
Oh yeah.
Like lost his shit?
Yeah, there's times I've wanted to absolutely kill him on set.
And he wanted to kill you?
I'm sure. Yeah.
Like what? What was a moment where you're like, David?
It happened a couple of times on Terrifier 2. Terrifier 2 is a really tough shoot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, really tough. Because we would shoot for hours. I mean, it wasn't there was no like unions or anything. There was no rules. So it was like it was a Wild West. So
16-hour days.
16-hour days. There was one day where I was up for, I think, 22 hours. All right. From like, I just had to go back into the next day of shooting. It was just, like a zombie. You're just on autopilot. You just have to do it. You don't have a choice. Because typically I'm always the first person there. And David, if he's on set that day, I have to put him in the makeup first before we do anything. So it's 3 hours sometimes.
So he's exhausted.
So that's it. I mean, it really just gets to the point where people just start losing their tempers and losing their cool.
They're like, I'm fucking tired of it.
Yeah.
I can't do it anymore.
Yeah. Let's fucking shoot, and I don't like any tension or any yelling or anything. My whole thing is if I'm not losing my cool because I'm working the hardest, then I don't want anybody else to lose their cool unless they have a great reason to do it.
He lost his cool, which is understandable if you look at it.
Very understandable.
But like it made you lose your cool.
Yeah.
You're like, dude. Now, was there a thing?
And then
like,
we just thought like we're, bitching at each other like brothers, like, but we never,
for Terrifier 3, I'm sure he said, I need to make more money on this.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't even that. I mean, we get more money. We want to pay people more
That's
money.
it. I make nothing. Yeah. I can't pay people the way I want to pay them. The more I make, the more I'm going to try and pay.
100%.
But it's like, it's tough. It's like, but I mean, he must make a fortune at
he does conventions. Great. He does great at cons. Yeah.
So he loves that.
Yeah. And I always want to do the right thing because these are things I learned just being a movie fan and hearing the behind the scenes, like with Freddy Krueger and Robert Englund and like him fighting to get pieces of his merchandise and things like that. Like I won't even let it get to that. It's like I'm gonna give you pieces of it. Like I just tell him like straight out because I don't want it to ever come to that.
Is there an Art the Clown like kind of like that statue or like a really cool statue like that they already made? Like
there's tons of stuff. I think that
like if I wanted to get an Art the Clown statue, where would I go?
I don't know if there's a statue. There's definitely like a 12-inch with the clothing. Have you seen that one?
No.
I'll get you that.
Really?
Yeah, we'll talk. Yeah, I'll send you a whole goodie box of stuff.
You hear this? Do you have a lot of shit at your house?
Tons, man.
Tons.
Like,
do you get a piece of the merch?
Oh yeah, of course.
So you made sure you did the George Lucas thing.
I mean, I own everything. It's just me and my partner.
It's your art.
It's me and my partner, Phil.
It's your art.
Yeah, it's my art. Yeah. So there's no studio or anything. We only have distributors that come in. So we don't, I mean, we have to split pieces of it with people for sure, but we own the majority of it. Yeah.
Do you date women who like horror? Have you ever dated someone who didn't like horror movies?
Yeah. My girlfriend now is not obsessed with horror. She likes horror. So I'm having the most fun showing her all these movies that she's never seen. So we watched Nosferatu the other day because I was so far behind. And she had no idea about Nosferatu and she'd never really seen a real Dracula movie before.
Did she get scared?
She really enjoyed it. She didn't get scared, but she really enjoyed it. But then I was like, okay, now you have to see Bram Stoker's Dracula because that's the best.
Of course.
I think that and Interview with the Vampire are the best sort of iteration of a mythical vampire, of what it is to be a vampire.
Gary Oldman signed it.
That's cool as hell.
Crossed oceans.
Yeah, time. It's incredible, and I loved it so much. I just watched it in 4K.
Oh man!
But that, she loved Bram Stoker's Dracula. She actually liked it more than Nosferatu. Yeah, but
What was I going to say to you? I had a good question.
Was it horror related?
It might. Oh, that's exactly right. Do you where do you see yourself after Terrifier? Like, what do you want to make?
I want to continue making. I have so many original ideas. That's one of the reasons why I'm out here this week, right? So I'm
meeting with agents and things like that.
Agents.
This is what my next project. So you know what your next project is?
No, I don't, not yet. But there's a bunch of options, potential projects. So it's a matter of if one of these other projects is ready to happen, and that'll take me away from Terrifier 4. I'll do it. Because there's a couple that are impossible.
Now, would you write or would you direct something that someone else has written? Would you do that?
Right now, all of these movies potential projects would involve me at least co-writing them.
Right.
Yeah. Because it's really how you shape some of these things.
If you read something, you're gonna like, no, I'd want to do this. I want to do this. I'd want to do this.
Because and a lot of the studios that I speak to, it's like they're interested in what my take on it would be, not necessarily how I would direct the movie. It's like, what would you do differently with this? So
do you like doing that? Going in there and pitching like what you would do?
Oh, I love it. Yeah. And I pinch myself. I can't believe I get to talk to some of these people. It's
Who have
wild.
you talked to can you even say that somebody you've talked to, you're like, holy crap, I'm having a meeting with this person?
Well, I've just, I don't even remember half of their names.
But big executives.
Oh, yeah. Like presidents.
Presidents of networks.
I've been
studios.
to almost all of them. I think the only one I haven't been to has been Warner Brothers.
And what do they say to you? All right, you're demented. I've seen your shit.
They say that,
but what do you want to do
like,
next?
You're sick. Yeah. They're all very cool too. It's all been very cool. A lot of them are just curious as to why do I think Terrifier hit? Why do I think Terrifier is working? Because of course they want to try and see if they can replicate it somehow, or have I tapped into something that they're not aware of.
What if you're like, I was lucky, it would never happen again?
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's certainly lightning in a bottle.
Oh man,
it's certainly lightning in a bottle. And I'm not delusional. There's a great chance that when I die, I'll be known as the creator of Art the Clown. I have no problem with that whatsoever.
If I die, I'm unless something else happens. Oh yeah, he was Lex Luthor in Smallville.
That's not too bad.
Who gives a shit?
That's incredible.
People always think, what is he doing now? What is he? If you do something that catches people's attention and people enjoy universally, that's success.
It's wonderful.
Why do you have to think I have to outdo that? I have to. For who?
Yeah, exactly. You don't.
Unless you have to do it for yourself.
You don't. Unless you just get hung up on what other people keep thinking, which you can't. You can't live like that, right?
I
mean, we all do it. I've done it, but you can't dwell on that.
I was sort of like, I made it.
Yeah.
I'm done.
I'm done.
I'm done.
Hang up the belt.
Checking out, man. All right, this is called Shit Talking with Damien Leone. This is rapid fire from my top tier patrons. They give back and they're awesome. Patreon.com/Insidey if you want to support the show. We need you. Brian B., where the hell do you come up with these crazy kill scene ideas? Love it all. Can't wait for the 4th movie.
Rapid fire? I got
No, you could extend.
Okay. It depends. So sometimes I'll specifically go out to research maybe medieval torture methods and stuff. That's things I'm not aware of. That's how the hacksaw scene came to be.
Yeah.
Part 2, I was flipping through a book of Jack the Ripper, and not necessarily looking for inspiration. I think it was a book that said it was a theory that Jack the Ripper may have been a woman. I was like, what's that about? And then they had real crime photos of his victims, and one of them was so horrifying. And it was a woman mutilated on a bed, and all you saw was
and that's where you
skeleton.
got that idea on the bed.
And I said, I'm gonna use this and reverse engineer it, basically.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's the way to do it.
And then the third movie was the chainsaw scene. So I always said to myself, like, the most notorious movie kill scene of all time is Psycho, is the shower scene.
Yeah.
So I said, what would I ever do if I was given the opportunity to remake Psycho? I was like, I would show because you don't see anything in Psycho. It's brilliant. I mean,
you don't see any nudity in your scene either.
No, and I didn't want to, and I wanted it to be, you hear classy coming from me, but I wanted it to be. I did, I wanted it to be classy. We made sure that you couldn't even if you did see something, you would see tape or whatever.
And I looked.
So we had to,
I looked very close.
So we really tried to do that as classy as possible because. You
didn't need that.
You don't need it. I'm not about that element of the slashers that we grew up with. It was just like
I kind of miss that stuff,
like just exploiting the sex.
I know. I don't. It's not. I don't like exploiting, but I like seeing some boobies every once in a while.
Yeah,
as much as a woman probably likes seeing a dong. It's like if I see boobies, I'm like boobs. I'm still a kid. I'm like, oh, that's cool.
They still have the power.
I get to see behind the curtain. They still have the power. But for some reason, I was watching this movie called Zombievers.
Oh, I know the dudes. Wait. The dudes who wrote that, they did our Clown Cafe, the Kaplan brothers. They're geniuses. They did our Clown Cafe jingle. That's the song that everybody just keeps humming. And they did the Terrifier Christmas song. They're unbelievable. They were friends of a friend.
That's so funny I said that.
Isn't that crazy?
You get to see some boobs there. That's cool that you do all this research. Leanne, what's your latest guilty pleasure?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. Guilty pleasure. I mean, older guilty pleasures. Like, I do love, does the Jersey Shore count as a guilty pleasure? Like, watching that?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't call it a guilty pleasure. It's just a pleasure.
Beast Games for me.
Oh, I don't know.
I'm on episode 10. It's like people trying to compete for $5 million. And it's just ridiculous. I also like body cam. It's like police officers and their body cams that you get to see all the hell they go through and all the youth. And high speed chases is good.
Okay. Well, this isn't a guilty pleasure, but I might as well just say what I really love doing now to pass the time is watch people's first time reactions of classic movies. So this is like
I love that.
Oh my God. That's my favorite thing to do. I'm obsessed with it.
I love that.
Just to live vicariously again. And I watched some woman watch Rocky for the first time.
Oh,
and she's like crying through the whole movie. Like every beat is working. and it just gave me so much hope, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh
well,
my
today it's like I just feel like it's such a short attention span that you always have to keep their attention to keep them in a movie, and like a movie like Rocky is just this like slow,
it's drama. It's
because
just,
you're with him. You're
no
like,
explosions. It's all emotions.
Lee G, do you ever consider the fact that you've created a character now that sits in the name pantheon as Jason, same pantheon as Jason, Michael, Chucky, and Freddy?
Wow, I love hearing that. I really do.
It's true.
Well, but I also say, because they do throw the word icon around a lot. And I say, all right, talk to me in 20 years. If you're still talking about him, then I'll say,
you're very humble. Very humble. No, I understand that.
Yeah. Yeah, because tested time, man. This is still very fresh. This just hit. I know he's really cool. Like, as a horror fan, I mean, I knew it when I saw Mike dressed up for the first time on set. Everybody was like, all right, there's something there. There's something special. You can't put your finger on it. You don't know what it could be, what it might blossom into, but you feel it. Some things you just feel. So he's definitely really cool. He checks a lot of awesome boxes, and I hope people continue to enjoy the character.
I'm gonna make Ryan watch it. Raj says, tell me about a time you didn't accept no for an answer. Probably on set. Like, no, we're doing this.
I could tell you. Yeah, 100% on set. I think it was for... Speaking of my producer just trying to pull the plug, Phil, and just saying we can't. I said we need extra days for the opening kill scene in Terrifier 3. And I said, listen, I'll walk away right now.
When he walks up the stairs?
It was for all the effects. It was for when we were getting into him killing the mother, basically.
Oh, yeah.
Because
in the kitchen when she's walking out. Yeah.
Very involved effects. And I was like, listen, you might as well just shut down production right now. I was like, because we can't.
Oh, don't get dramatic.
I did.
Don't get dramatic.
Yeah. It was crazy.
All right, we'll do it.
My poor AD had to just be in the middle of all this nonsense. And
he's just
trying to figure out.
What do you need me here for? Because no one's listening to me.
It's
do you
kind
want
of
to get the actors? I don't know what I'm doing here.
It's kind of a game. It's like a power game me and Phil play anyway. We know ultimately I'm probably going to win.
And what about Lauren?
Yeah. She's
now,
the best.
I mean, so she's been in two of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She goes through a lot.
Yeah, we really put her through
Did you make it apparent to her in 2 that, listen, whatever you're thinking, I'm going to put you through a lot of hell, and you're not going to like it, but it's going to end up being great?
No.
Like, you didn't even say that?
No. She was so psyched about it, and she read the script. And she's a stunt performer, so she couldn't wait to get in and do all the physical stuff anyway. And she wanted to do stunts that I wouldn't even let her do. I was like, this is just a little like, there's a scene where she falls through a floor and it's a big drop. She wanted to do that. She wanted to get thrown through a wall. I think at one point I was like, I don't think we should let you do this. But I mean, she loved it. And then she only had... Typically, everybody breaks at some point on these films. Oh God, everybody breaks, and everybody gets it. You're allowed to break
at the end when she's in the chair.
I think it was when she was. In part 3.
Yeah,
I don't think she broke on part 3.
Okay,
it was part 2 though. I think she's really started to, because you could tell when the enthusiasm just peters out, and you're like, oh, it's like,
just put some Bee Gees on,
right?
Yeah,
we do. I think there's videos of them dancing to the electric slide or something and having fun, and I'm the miserable one trying to figure out the next shot while everybody's having fun. I'm like, yeah. I think it was just being in that Valkyrie costume, and we were in a dilapidated basement beneath a haunted house, damp, like being in a cave for like 14 hours. And I think she just had to keep getting choked on the floor.
I'm done. We got it.
Yeah. And it was just one of those things.
You didn't get it.
Yeah. Right.
Got to do it again.
But, yeah. And that's, you can't blame.
No. You just got to let them do it.
It's brutal. I mean, it's brutal. It's not fun. I mean, these movies you're in real environments. It's cold. It's gross. You're sticky. You're covered in blood. You're not sleeping. You hope you're doing a good job. So, this shit happens. And I wanted to bring this up before. I don't know. I felt like it was worth bringing up, but movies aren't fun to make. I don't know if you have.
Not always.
They're really not fun to make. And people think you're having the time of your life. And don't get me wrong. I mean, again, because it's something we need to do and we're so passionate.
And you're happy to be there.
You're happy to be there.
But
exactly.
It's work.
It is hard work. And it's constant pressure.
Yeah,
constant pressure
on everybody.
Yeah,
from everybody, from director down to first AD, down to freaking I mean, everybody, even extras, background. They're on set for hours and hours and hours.
Yeah, and you don't want anybody to feel bad.
No,
ever. You know, it's just constant tension at all ends. But yeah, you guys. There's always moments of joy scattered throughout. Right, you live for those moments where there's a great performance. You see it happen. You're like, oh my god, there's that magic. We just caught it, or an effect works, or something like that. But my ultimate joy is when, because I also edit these movies, and it's when I'm alone and I edit a scene, and then I'll quickly upload it to my phone from the computer, and I'll watch it 100 times, and I'll just be like, I just created,
and then you'll send
a little
it to
piece
Phil.
of magic, and then he'll say, "This sucks."
Will he?
Oh, he tells me everything's terrible. He always
once you have music and stuff, it's going to be better. But right now, it's very just drab. And
no, he always checks me. He always, which is great, and he's not a horror fan. So he has all these, he's always coming from like outside the box perspective or something. That's good because you can get caught in a bubble and just think everything you're doing is good, everything's working. And I'll just be like, no, this isn't working. This isn't as good as what we did in the last one. You know?
What was the moment when you got your first big check and you went, oh, I've never seen this much money in my life?
Yeah.
Wow. I'm used to having nothing, making things for nothing.
Yeah.
And how did you feel?
Oh, wild. It's pretty wild. Yeah. Probably from like a nice merch check or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you just said, can you believe this kid from Staten Island?
Finally,
who's
man.
just goofing, watching horror movies with his mom.
Yeah. It's like, maybe I don't have to deliver flowers. This
delivering
could be good.
flowers.
Yeah.
Fucking
idolizing.
All right, I'm going to say a quote from a movie, you name it. Yeah. Ernie's in 20, 25 years. Yeah, but can you trust the bastard?
Return
the Living Dead, correct. All right. Give me back my hand.
Evil Dead 2.
Okay. Damien. Why you do this to me, Damien?
Of course.
You're not my mother.
One of my favorites.
Yeah, right there, Linda Blair.
Yeah.
Dude, this has been an absolute joy. I've been talking about doing this forever, and I'm so glad you came over and did it in person. And I wish you continued success. You deserve it. You work harder than anybody I know, and you're an exceptional guy. And this has been a real treat for me.
Likewise, buddy. This was such a pleasure.
Yeah.
I would love to come back anytime.
Yeah, you will.
If I do a podcast, you'll be my first guest.
I'm in. I'm in, man.
Amazing, brother. Thank you so much.
Thanks, buddy. You know what's cool too? Did I ask him this about he owns all the toys and all the stuff that I think I did?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I didn't. But I think he does. I think like he came up with this character, and like so when they make dolls and stuff and like little Funkos, you know, he gets a piece of that. He did what George Lucas did, which is like, I just want this, and they're like, oh, that won't do anything, and then that's where he made the billions. But I hope he did. I hope he's so. He looks like he's just one of those guys who wants to push himself more and more. You know, just has a lot of motivation, loves adversity, just. But it was a joy to have you here. So thanks, Damien. Right now, it's time to listen to the top tiers and the How Deep Is Your Love tier of the Patreon. So if you want to join Patreon, get your name shouted out, patreon.com/inside of you. Here are those wonderful names of the people that really make this podcast. What would you say? Doable?
Listenable?
Your birthday was nice. Your birthday party was nice.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, your dad, your mom.
My parents, yeah.
Yeah, they invited me to come.
Yeah.
Visit, camp.
Yeah.
Glamp.
Come to camp.
I would do it.
Camp. It's really nice. It's weird because they moved there, like 8 years ago, and it's hard for me to imagine them ever living here where I grew up.
Really?
Yeah.
How far away are they? Flight?
The flight's only an hour.
But driving's like 7?
Driving's like 7, yeah. But I know all the stops. I've been doing it for a long time. I know exactly where to
go. You go every other month? Probably?
Yeah, I mean, we always like went up, up north because we've always had family in the area.
You know how to camp, don't you?
No.
No.
I don't know how to camp.
See, I don't either.
I liked it. I went last year for the first time.
I want to do it. I want to.
Yeah, just like at a little campsite, like in the Angeles forest.
I just want to like go with people that are experienced first, and then do it.
Yeah.
Like I want to light a fire.
Oh yeah, I haven't done like lighting a fire camp. I've gone to like a campground where you like.
Yeah, I want to light a fire, make some food, tell stories, play some guitar.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. Here we go. Top tier patrons. Love you. Nancy D, Little Lisa, Yukiko, Brian H, Niko P, Rob L.
I.
Rabbi.
Somebody correct us ASAP.
Jason W, Sophie M, Raj C, Jennifer N, Stacy L, Jamal F.
Janelle B, Mike.
That's
Eldon
Mike.
Supremo,
Yes.
99 more. Santiago M, Maddie S, Kendrick F, Belinda N,
Dave Hull.
Love
him.
Brad D,
Brad D.
Ray H,
Ray Harada.
Tabitha
T.
Tom N,
Talia M, Betsy D. Miss you, Betsy. And Rhiannon and Talia, Michelle A, Jeremy C, Eugene and Leah, Mel S, Eric H, Amanda R, Kevin E, Jorel, Jam and J, Leanne J.
Eugene and Leah, what?
Luna R. Don't forget Luna R. And
Luna R,
Jules
whatever.
M. Jules M for crying out loud.
Jessica B, Kaylee J, Charlene A, Marion Louise L, Romeo the Band, Jen T, April R, Randy S, Claudia,
Rachel D, Nick W, Stephanie and Evan,
Steven,
Don G, Jenny B, 716 E, NG, Tracy, Keith B, Heather and Greg, Grether, Ellie K, Ben B, Pierre C, Sultan, Ingrid C, Dave T, David L, Jeff G, Kareem H, Brian B. I love seeing your names here. I try to message you guys every once in a while on Patreon as well. And yeah. What else is there other than just thank you guys for being so awesome? I couldn't do it without you. I'm Michael Rosenbaum from the Hollywood Hills in California there.
I'm Ryan Tejas, and I've been here the whole time.
He's been here the whole time. Little wave to the camera. We loved having you here. Thanks for making this podcast your choice, and be good to yourself. I'll see you next week.